All right, so welcome to this webinar. This is going to be bulk imports and how to get your data formatted into an acceptable format into CoachMePlus and how to go through that process from start to finish. So from the start here, I'm going to start off at our admin portal and dive into our imports menu. So you find that through settings and import, then imports. So from here, it'll bring you to your screen. If you have any existing imports that you've already done, it'll be a list here that'll populate for you. And then if you want to add a new one, you simply click the plus new button. From there, it'll bring you to the upload file option, and then it gives you a few data formatting tips. So it tells you everything has to be in a CSV format. The first row must contain the column names separated by the commas. Since you're saving it as a CSV, you don't have to separate your data by commas. I'll show you how it's formatted in a minute here. But it allows you basically to match field for field with your data to drop it in nice and easily. And then this is saying here that 2 formats are supported. Whether you're doing all data on one day, you don't need a column to identify the date. The import tool, as you're importing it, after you match all the columns and everything, will ask you what date is this for. And then you could do data for multiple days, or you can just define the date. You don't have to worry about it, so that if you're using an import template for a data on one day, but in the future you might be doing multiple days, you can still use the same template without having to upload a new one. So here's some example file data, but I'm going to go and dive into Excel and show you a couple of things here. So this is a very basic data import form where we have the first row showing our column names. So you obviously have to have a name for each of your users here. So this is one format where you can put all user names in one column, whether it's last name first. You can just type it simply Lincoln Burrows instead of Burrows, Lincoln, because you define the aliases within the system. So you need a name column first. You can identify where this data is mapping to and for who. I'm going to have a date column in each of my files. This is optional again if it's all on one day. If it's all on 6/23/2022, you don't have to worry about adding it. But again, if you do in the future are going to be adding in multiple days or multiple dates, it's just nice to have that date column there so you don't have to start from scratch with a new template and a new import process. And then from there, I just have a few fields that we have currently existing within the system with just some basic numbers underneath to just give you an idea of what this looks like. So every single field has its own individual column, and then every data point has its own row. So Lincoln Burrows has a 24-inch vertical jump, and we have that from 6/23/2022, and so on down the line. Now, if you wanted to add multiple days, all you would do here is just let me add another column for Lincoln, and maybe this is from 5/23/2023. And then you can add in his data there and you go on down the line and tell us what he ran. And then the last thing I'll touch on in this file is every date always has to have a 4-digit year on it. The import tool will tell you to correct your file if you say it's got a 2-digit year, and I'll show you that in a second. But it's just easier to format this column through format and cells, and then just set your date file to have that 4-digit year, and you're all set. Moving forward. So with that said, I'm going to save this one, but I also have a secondary file I want to show you with a couple different options. So this is another option that you can format. This one has a little bit different. So you have first name and last name columns. You can tag both of these as alias columns and have them separate. It's totally fine if you have that. We can walk through that process. Again, it has a date column with a 4-digit year, and this one has a time on it. This is useful if you have multiple attempts for a single test on a given day. And you just have, you can separate it by time this way. Within our aggregate reports, our aggregate history graphs, you can grab the best, the worst, the newest, the oldest, and an average of a day, and throw that data point in there. If you don't have a time on multiple attempts, so if you have 3 attempts from 3/23, it'll just grab the third one in line or the latest one in line and overwrite the other 2 because it just thinks it's a repeat. So it's helpful to have the time in there. And again, the time is easier to format. Just do hours, minutes, seconds, and you can do AM or PM, but also on the import, it gives you the option to define that it's a 24-hour clock. So you can do that option as well. It doesn't have to include the AM or PM on it. The last thing I'll show you before diving into actually importing this file is that you can actually have a column with date and time in it together. So we're going to go ahead and format that. So I have my 4-digit year, and then I'm going to go ahead and say it's 6 a.m. So now when I exit out of there, it formats it just by Excel default. So I'm just going to select that column and go to Format and Cells. What I'm going to start with is date. and I'm going to grab an option that has a date and a time on it. So I grab that, and then I'm going to jump into custom. This allows me to format it for CoachMePlus. So I go 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year, and then I have hours, minutes, and then I'm going to add a seconds column and hit enter. Now it formats it exactly how I need it, and there you go. So you've got 4-digit year and you've got your time in there. So that's also an option too, as far as importing goes. You can use that as well. So there's your 3 different options for dates, date, and time, and you're good to go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to take these drops and I'm going to drop them into the CoachMePlus system. So within this menu, we're back to that data import tool. I'm just going to click on the upload file button. You can also drag and drop. I'm going to go ahead and grab my demo data drop. It's going to upload the file. See, it's a CSV format. I'm good to go. Once I get that check mark, I can hit the next button, which moves me to select my template. It allows you, if you do have existing templates, it will guess if it finds it similar to your template. This is a new one, so I'm just going to click on create new, and I'm just going to do demo data drop 1 and hit next. What happens next is now I'm defining what the columns are for this file. So this is my name column. So I have Burroughs Lincoln, Owens Calvin, and Pace Charlie. What I'm going to do here, since it's my names, this is the button that says you're using this as an alias. So I hit the check mark there, and I have to hit confirm. And then in the next step under review athletes, that's where you match the alias to a user within the system. The next one, you just define data type all the way down. So this is a date with a 4-digit year. So I have my date option. This is the date and time option. So I go date format. If you do select a 2-digit year, it's going to spit it back at you. It'll say you need to select a different format. It's just a way to let you know. I'm going to say it's month, day, year, and then I can say it's either a date to go into a field that I have, maybe a string field, or since this is the case, this is the measured date, I'm just going to check that box to tell the system this is where the date is from, or form the data is from, confirm there. And then I've got my 3 fields, and the system will, if the name is familiar or similar to what's within the system field name, it'll guess for you. So it'll say it's a number. There are other data types, whereas text, maybe you have a string entry or something like that, but this did guess correctly. So all I'm going to do is walk myself down the line, confirm, confirm, and confirm. Now, if you don't have a match within the system for anything in your file, that just means the field's not there yet. You can talk to your support rep and get that added in. But most of the time at this point, we've got those fields in there and we're just dumping some data in. So now I have all my fields confirmed. I'm good to go there. Next step is creating my alias type for step 4, which is reviewing athletes. So for every separate import file, I create a new alias type that's specific to this file, because then it just helps me match the format moving forward. So again, I'm just going to call this demo data drop 1 for the alias name. I continue. And then when I get to step 4, the system again will try to guess who's who. So these are properly matched up. I'm happy that these match my CoachMePlus users fully. If it weren't to be matched, it would just be a white column like so. And I can click on this button, it'll bring up my user list, and I can say, this is my user for this one. Maybe there's a typo in the name or something like that, but you know them, you can go ahead and match it up. And then once you've got your athletes all set, all you do is hit import, system does the rest, and it'll drop it in. And if you have any visualizations built for us, it automatically populates in there. You can go ahead and go to reporting and look it up that way, and it'll give you a confirmation that you have 5 rows and 15 data points processed for 4 athletes. Some cases, there will be a list below saying errors with the import. Most of the time, it's just skipping empty columns, empty rows, stuff like that, but that's just so you know. And then that's really it as far as this goes. The only thing that I'm going to show you next is the two columns for names. So I'm going to go ahead and do new import. And I'm going to grab that second file we had with our date and time and our 2 columns. So I'm going to upload file for demo drop number 2. Again, we got our check mark. We're good to go. We hit next. Columns 8 and 9 have an empty column name. So that gives me an error because I typed in those before. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab these and hit delete to clear things out for me. I'm going to save it again and see if it works. I'm glad that hiccup happened. It kind of helps to show what we need to do. So we go ahead and grab our updated file now that we saved it. We hit next, and it works. So we cleared those out, and we're good to go. So now import template. Again, I'm going to select create new because this is in a different format. So I create new, demo data drop 2. So we've got our second one. We hit next, and we move forward. Same thing, just matching the columns. Again, I just wanted to show you the different format. So We have actually first name and last name. It tried to guess first name and last name from existing fields in the system. We don't want to do that. We want these to be used as alias. So I'm actually going to do the check mark on both of these boxes so the system knows I'm taking the data from both columns to create my aliases. And then from there, it's really the same. So this is date. My format's 4-digit year. This is the measure date, confirm, and then the same thing with time. I have a time column, the time format, here's your options. So you can do hours and minutes on 24-hour clock, hours and minutes AM, PM, or with your seconds. It all depends on how your entry is or how far apart your attempts are. This one has an AM and PM, so I'm going to do hours, minutes, seconds, AM, and PM. Select measured time and confirm. And again, it guessed properly on my columns here, so I'm going to add those guys in, hit confirm. Next. Use the alias type. I'm going to create a new one. Demo drop 2. And then you can see on the review athlete screen, it matched first name and last name. It didn't have a guess for it. So now I just have to go ahead and type it in. This is Cole Weffner. This is Charlie. And this is Lincoln. So now I have it matched up again. My job here is done. I hit import and I'm all set. So that's just 2 options, 2 examples of that Excel data drop. Again, just as a quick review, it has to be a CSV. Each field has to have its own column, and each athlete, each attempt has to have its own row. So the last thing I'll finish up with before we call this quits here, I'm going to go to my menu, and I'm going to go back to home to show you my existing import templates. So say I have to update an import template and go back to settings, import templates. You unfortunately can't edit the file that's within here. So what I would do for demo data drop 1, if I had to add a couple columns or I'm changing it from date to date and time or something like that, I'm going to go ahead and edit my Excel spreadsheet. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this one so the system doesn't try to guess it. So all I would really do is it's not enabled anymore, so it doesn't show up in my dropdown, and type something like do not use or old or something like that. And then you hit save. It no longer is referenced by the system. It's just a way to kind of clear things out. Again, this is support that can help. But short and sweet, nice and simple. That is how you create a bulk data import on CoachMePlus from start to finish. And thanks for your time.